It didn't look.
This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission, all rights reserved.
I didn't realise that. I thought the newer version. Sorry. Oh.
Hello everyone, welcome to this evening's or today or afternoon or morning, wherever you are. Welcome to this episode of our Odes campaign, which uses the rule system or the rule set known as Mythras, which is basically based around a percentile dice, and no levels. You just develop skills as you progress through the adventures. So the party have just finished a rather almost like a part of an adventure, I think, as they were heading back to their hamlet, their village that they had a base in a few days ago. So we'll pick up the story then, but before then I'll allow the players an opportunity to introduce who they are and who they will be playing in tonight's adventure. And anyone can go first. It's up to you. Fight among yourselves.
Hi guys, I'm Chuck Rugger. I play the apprentice sorcerer who goes by the name of Gulliver. He's the smallest member of the group, the weakest, but he's probably the most intelligent of them all. He is an apprentice in the Order of the Kraken, which is one of the 4 sorcery orders on Odis. His particular one specializes in spells evolved around communication, transportation, and teleportation. And I shall pass on to whoever wants to go next. There'll be assignments, everybody.
Hi guys, I'm Longshanks EPG, and tonight I'm playing Hengist, the noble warrior from a foreign land who fights sword and shield, heavy armor, and generally tends to cut heads and legs off people. But he will do that in combat. But as soon as someone's down on the ground, he's like, no, you're fine.
He's finished.
Well, in that case, I guess I'll take over. I'm Mr. Pickles. I play Bartleby Fumus, which is our group's theist, or cleric if you prefer. I prefer theist. That's just me. I serve the goddess Amriel, who is the light moon goddess who covers things like healing, light, illumination, very, very vague and abstract visions, all sorts of goodness like that. Bartleby is the most decked out in jewelry of our group's team, or of the team members. Got a mask that's sucking my life out, as well as a beautiful bracelet doing just the same. We're questing to figure out how to stop those things, but that's just part of the story. I'll throw the microphone on over to Medivac now.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Medivac, and I play Hazri Khan. He is a nomad from the steppes, and he is the group's scout, tracker, go-to cook, I suppose, out in the wilderness as well. He favours a short spear and a scimitar. He is completely at home in the wilderness, and he's recently become a follower or a member of the Brotherhood, who are a group of people that make notes and keep records of changes in biomes, of how people affect areas of nature, and how creatures affect them as well, and basically keep tabs on everything and keep a running record, and have been doing this for centuries. And with that, I shall pass it on to inwils.
Cool. Yeah, so you'll be able to see the parties, the players' character sheets rotate round underneath me, and I'll put up some general rules about things like combat and skills as we sort of like progress throughout the adventure tonight. So I've got one of those really awkward coughs. That's not a cough, but it's like a tickle. And every now and again, I just have to cough, so just be warned. You can't catch anything over the airways, so don't worry.
Just make sure your computer's antivirus software is up to date.
Yes, yeah, it's all right. I've covered it in a plastic sheet, just to be careful. Right, so yeah, you're in. Yeah, you seem to be going in the right direction, guys. You needed 3 elements of jewelry, or some kind of triad of jewelry, in order to go and find Cassini, I think. And Bartleby holds 2 bits, the death mask and the bracelet. You had to find the torque, which I think you found. And
somebody else had it, though.
Say again, sorry?
Somebody else had it.
And we don't want to kill her.
Yeah, so somebody else had it, and she was in. I think she had a slightly romantic attachment to somebody, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Fine. Bartleby's playing the long game. It's okay.
Yeah. So, however, while they were last in Lindowe, it came to their attention that there'd been somewhat of a robbery in the local Count Bastian's library, and they were hired by a scholar to try to find the location of the Chaos Mother's temple. Now, this was a temple that has been around for ages, and the Chaos Mother is a very old god that's been around for some time, and it has some connection with a group of people that the players have encountered that seem to be maybe controlled or being organized by some kind of necromancer that is sort of like taking over or planning on taking over the world. Anyway, they managed to get a location that there was a clue to the Chaos Mother's temple at a villa, Lucius's villa, to the north and west of Lindowe. They travelled out to a small hamlet called Goodwool, where they encountered what appeared to be a local bandit group. They then went out to Lucius's villa, and after several attempts, eventually got in there. Inside, they managed to find a mosaic on the floor that Gulliver quickly sketched out, and due to a wonderful critical role in Bartleby's history test, he actually managed to locate some idea of where the mosaic might be. That might also be the location of the Chaos Mother's temple. They also had a lead, I think, that there was a cartographer who actually knew where this might be. Was that correct?
Fustilius Strump.
Yeah, that's
the name
right.
I wrote down.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. And that was back in Lindowe. So you grabbed your horses and you rode back to the small town of Goodwool, where you had been resting and enjoying some luxuries there a few days beforehand. However, it was nighttime, dusk was drawing in, light was fading from the sky, when you approached on your horses Goodwool, and something very strange appeared to be happening, because there was no lights on in Goodwool at all. Any lanterns that were normally hung outside the shops and the buildings, etc., were all gone. There seemed to be no light at all, and there also seemed to be no activity in the small hamlet at all. And you were sort of like going along with your horses. You saw this, and you pulled your horses to a halt. And probably about 5 minutes ride down. You can see the town in the distance. You're not there at the moment, but as I said, it looks like it's quite dead, for want of a better word. Okay, so that's the synopsis over and done with, and takes us nicely up to the start of this week's adventure. So luck points will be renewed, however magic points will not be renewed until you actually make have a long rest somewhere.
What about tenacity?
Tenacity returns the same amount as sleeping and magic points, although if it's below a certain amount it comes up to 0 for the time being, until you can recover further.
I take it can't go over your maximum at all.
Over your maximum tenacity?
Yeah, it's because it's done on power, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because I had 19 out of 15, which might be a...
Yeah.
I didn't know whether I could, if you did certain things, it could.
No, it shouldn't at all. Let me just...
I think that was just a glitch with the sheet upgrade. That was one of the ones that changed.
Let me just check.
If there's a potion of tenacity, would that be the only...
Is that clear liquid with a caterpillar floating in it?
Yeah, you actually do have a potion.
That's a luck in it. I'm just saving that close to my heart for when things get really rough.
Power cannot be cast. Yeah, it's just the same as your magic points. Yeah, there's no way to increase it. So it's quite... it's interesting that mages or people with power, magic, tend to be quite good spiritually with their ability to withstand psychic attacks, etc. Hence it is. Yeah, okay then. So you pull your horses to a stop as you approach Goodwool, and you can see that it's in darkness. What would you like to do?
Gulliver will say, this doesn't look right.
No.
I don't have a good feeling.
No, it doesn't. Be wary.
I think you're right. Would you like me to dismount and go and have a quick look ahead?
Please.
So Hazra will dismount quietly, pass his reins over to Hengist, and he'll go quietly down the street, keeping to the shadows in his grey outfit, and just have a look and see if he can hear any signs of life or anything.
Okay, so first things first, make me a stealth roll, and then make me a perception roll after that. Yeah, and make me a perception roll. This bodes well, doesn't it?
I know. I wish all my good rolls earlier.
I know, you got a critical in.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hazra sort of like goes down away from the horses, and people on the characters on the horses, you see him sort of like disappear. Well, not quite actually, and you think it's just because you know where he is that you see him sort of like slightly hunched over, trying his best to sort of like sneak into the town. One thing that you do notice, Hazra, is that as you approach, the town is not as quiet as you originally thought from a distance. There are noises of people, but they're very they seem to be behind closed doors. They're not sort of like rowdy or anything like that. It's as if everybody has locked themselves into their they're buildings. The tavern is locked up. There's no lantern outside. It looks like the lanterns have been unhooked and taken inside. There's no sign of anything outside at all. It even looks like any wandering feline or canine beasts have been taken back into the houses and sort of like kept indoors. The whole street seems to be quite barren and empty.
If I see any red crosses painted on doors, I will be leaving this town.
Yeah, no, there's nothing at all. It's quite, if anything, it's quite unnerving.
Okay, so I'm hearing voices from some of the buildings. So if I go up to the first building that's making a noise and just tap on the door and say, "Hello? Why is everybody hiding?"
Yeah, so you just roll a 1d6 for me, and then I can. So I'm not making you go to a door. You could be totally random. Yeah, so you number 4. Okay, hang on 1 second. Yeah, so you go up to the door and you tap on the door and you sort of like speak, and immediately you notice that the sounds inside stop. It seems to be just people talking inside, not a huge amount, maybe 2 or 3 people having a hushed conversation. But as soon as you knock on the door and utter some sounds, then the noise inside the building just stops instantly. There's no reply.
No reply. Right. Clearly they're hiding from something or think something's coming. So I'm going to go back to the group and tell them there are people inside the houses, but they seem to be. It's like when a taxman comes to a village, everybody hides inside and pretends not to be home. They were talking. I knocked on the door. I said, "Hello, why are you hiding?" And it went quiet. No, nobody said the word. I know they're in there. They're like pretending to be not there though.
Can Gulliver do some bits whilst Hazra's away?
It depends what it is now that he's back.
I wanted to pull my horse closer to Bartleby's, and Gulliver wants to say, "Bartleby, I've got that map, and it's hidden in my boot."
That's a good hiding place. It's very clever, actually.
I thought so, but you know what we're like for being captured by people, and I don't think
We're good at it.
we should let them get it. So if it does come to that, you know what to do, don't you?
Yes. I'll call upon Amriel to burn our secrets.
Good idea. And
While it's still in his boot, please.
Hengist calls back and says, "Just don't step in any puddles."
I'll try to remember as much of it as I can. But even if we can get a day's head start on them, and they have to go back to the villa, it's better than nothing.
True. And I still know the names of the locations from my studies. As long as we have the names, we can always try and see if there's anything in our libraries.
I thought that I could maybe make copies of it and have like an altered one that's, I don't know, has all the things in a different location or something. But I can't do that on the road. Maybe when we get back to Lindowe, I could do it.
Very clever. We could distribute some and pass some false information to anybody who's stalking us.
Yeah. I think we should be quiet now.
Yeah,
Yes.
and just as you come to the end, Hazra returns to you and utters his words that he spoke before.
Was there anything else out of the ordinary, Hazra?
No, it just seemed, well, everything's out of the ordinary to me. There's no lanterns on the buildings. It's like it's a ghost town.
I was more of smells. Could you maybe smell the swamp or smell the the stench of when we were in that town and everybody was dead.
No, these people are quite alive. They're just hiding in their houses. I did not notice any smells.
I think that smell was more from the necromancer.
Could anybody who wishes to do, it doesn't matter on the location of this, roll a locale roll. It is a hard roll, so you'll need hard or higher to actually succeed. Anybody with survival skills can augment the roll with their survival skill if they wish. So just to let everybody know who's following the stream while they're doing this, characters have skill levels on a rating between 0 and 100. Anything that is actually 0, 1 to 0, 5 is always a constant success. 96 to 100 is a failure, and they need to roughly get their skill and less. However, because this is a hard roll, then they reduce their skill value by 10%, by 1/3. Sorry, they're going to augment it with a different skill, which means that they add 20% of that skill onto their total. Yeah, sorry, Gulliver, did you have some?
Yes, Gulliver doesn't roll locale really when it comes to this land, because his locale refers to another land and he hasn't trained in the new land yet.
It won't matter. That's what I was saying. It doesn't matter where your location is. What you're about to find out would be quite... You're not looking at specific... Well, you don't notice anything. You're like, what tree? This is going well.
It's good the times from the steps.
Thank goodness that Hazra is around. Okay then. So Hazra, you make it on your hard roll there. So as you coming back and you're busy talking to the rest of them, you notice that there's something quite strange has happened down the sides of the road, and you recognize that the further you get away from the town, the less this effect. You do notice that there was no sign of any plant life at all closer to the town. You recognize that there was no animals outside, and it's really strange because when you're riding back towards the group, you notice that at first you just sort of like think the sides of the road were barren of vegetation, but as you get further and further away and you ride, you notice that vegetation slowly reappears, and it's very much as if it's wilted or died. It was definitely not lush or anything, and it was definitely sort of, it looked like it had died or wilted or been infected or something like that closer to the town.
Okay, as we'll say this to the group. I just noticed this. That you see there's grass and there's flowers and other things over here. When you go to the town, it seems to get more sparse. Not road one. It just seems as if the plants are dying as they get closer to the town. What does this mean? That there's no animals, no birds, no. I did not hear anything like that. When you would have thought, even if everybody's hiding in the house, there would still be a cat meowing or a dog barking as I came closer. No, even though I was very stealthy.
It could mean that there's some magic in effect. Maybe the town's cursed. Maybe those who enter start to slowly wither away. And can you use the sight of Amriel, Bartleby, to see whether or not it can't be? Could it be the seed?
I was wondering that myself, if perhaps Ben and his worship of Maroth had taken a strange turn, or somebody perhaps had You saw how quickly he was to join the church after speaking with me. I'm sure somebody evil could sway his mind another way. Bartleby is going to dismount from the horse and begin to do his arms ritual of getting the blood pumping to call upon Amriel's sight.
Well, whilst he's doing that, Gulliver wants to also get off his horse, and he wants to tether his horse and Bartleby's by the side of the road.
Okay, yeah. So just roll your riding skill, Gulliver, for that. Yeah. You sort of like look around with the reins and sort of like
tie it onto my leg.
No, there's a little pebble about this big, and you think, oh, that'll do, and you just sort of like pop it on both them together, and just sort of think, oh, that'll fine. And so go and Diddles and Buttonable. And sort of like look around for some grass to sort of like eat. Yeah, your Amriel's power sort of like flows through you, Bartleby, and gives you this power to look for magical sources of energy. And as you look down onto the town, you do notice that there's some kind of residual energy around. It's quite dark magic. It looks like black mist tendrils, just sort of like slowly weaving its way up from the ground. It's not super powerful. It definitely looks like the remnants or something that might have been there. It doesn't pose any threat to you, but it's definitely something that maybe was a little bit more powerful, but now has subsided slightly.
Bartleby will react in disgust, as if he's smelling something awful, and then relay the information to the group. Dark magic from the ground. This tendrils. It's faint, foul.
Could it maybe be some type of warding spell? What was it? Did it go right way round the town?
No, it does seem to go through the middle, Bartleby. You don't think it's any kind of ward. You think it's probably residual, so something was there and it almost like left it like a trace as it's passed through.
I'm not as educated as you, Gulliver. I just know what Amriel tells me, and I don't know the purpose sometimes of these spells.
But is it safe?
I think it'll be faint enough that it's safe, but it might help to go down and get a closer look.
The just a question out of character and wills. When we first went to the village, is it a
Goodwool,
village?
yeah.
Goodwool.
It's more like a hamlet, yeah.
Yeah. We got there about the same time, and there was lights on, and the inn was still open, and we stayed there. We stayed there a day, didn't we?
Correct. Yeah.
And we didn't notice any change.
No, not at all.
In it. And we've been away for what, about 5, 6?
Well, yeah, 3 or 4, maybe 5 days. Yeah.
Okay. And how long has it been since the shaman and the other bandits left? About a day.
Yeah. So you left, you did all the circular touring, etc. Then you came back quite close to Goodwool, but not to be able to see it when you attacked the bandits on the road and tethered them and then let them go. And then then you literally went back, and that was a day and a half. This is probably coming to the end of this second day, roughly.
So if it doesn't look like a ward, Bartleby, is it like a trail of some?
I don't know. I want to get closer. I have a feeling if there's no animals or plant life, I feel like something must have happened, perhaps with that shrine of the god of beasts, Tabris. I think we should get a closer look, but I'm going to need somebody to watch my back as I seek guidance.
Would you like me to come with you? And perhaps maybe Hengist and Gulliver could maybe check out maybe Maggie's shop and see if that is still intact or fine, or...
I don't think that's a good idea, Hazra. I think if we're going to go, we should
all go together.
All stick together, because if there is some type of magic, then, well, I would normally say that you would need me around to help you ward it off, but
that much is true, Gulliver. That much is true.
I'm afraid I'm not going to be very much use for you at the moment. I probably have to rely on my dagger more than my spells.
Does that mean you're very low on magic points?
No. I take it it doesn't work the same as the superhero one where you can use a point of luck and roll one.
No, it does not. Unfortunately.
Adventure for me then.
How far was the shrine? Refresh my memory. Was it in the middle?
It's right
and then
in the
up
middle.
hill?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Hazra will take the reins of his horse back off Hengist and also lead Hengist's horse and tie it against a stout tree off the road slightly.
Okay.
And Hengist, don't worry, I'm just going to leave the horse over here and tie it up.
I was going to say Hengist is probably still on the horse.
Hengist just raises his eyebrow and then says, "Allow me to get off my horse first." And then you dismount.
It's fine.
Hazra, roll your riding skill for me, please.
Perhaps we should head to the tavern
Thank
first.
you.
If anything's going to be open, it's going to be the tavern.
It's true.
We can try.
And it wasn't that far from the tavern to the shrine, was it? Because
you will actually pass the shrine before you actually get to the tavern.
It's the feeling I had, but I didn't know if it was on the other side of town. Or...
No, it's on the opposite side of the central road of the. So you'll actually go past the tavern, and then you'll come. You'll go past the shrine on your right, and then the tavern will be on your left, and the stables that you went into, Gulliver, will be round the corner.
Okay, so Bartleby is going to start walking his way down with a candle in one hand, club in the other.
Okay.
Hengist will be walking next to Bartleby with shield on arm, but sword in scabbard, but his hand on the pommel, ready to draw it.
Hazra will have his scimitar out.
Okay, so who's leading? That's what I need to know.
I'll be leading, I would have thought.
Okay, so Hazra's going first, and then the rest of you, are you going in a line or in a triangular formation?
I think it sounded like Bartleby and Hengist were then going, and then Gulliver I'll bring up the rear.
Okay.
He doesn't like bringing up the rear, so he's going to be one of these ones that he's going to spend a lot of time sort of like looking backwards, more times looking backwards rather than looking forward. And he's listening out for wolves. Yeah,
just specifically wolves.
Yeah, because that's what we heard last time.
Okay, then. So, how far are you going in? Is there anything that you want to do, or are you just going to walk straight through the town and come out the other end? I need some indication of your actions.
Is Bartleby's sight still active, or is it that?
I don't think it has. I don't think it has a concentration.
I think you've treated it as a scene thing in the past, and I'm more than willing to do it again. I want to take it back. I'm not going to have my club out. That feels like a hostile action.
Okay.
So just candle, and my goal is to go right to the shrine and either re-up on my Amriel vision, or check it out.
Yeah.
So Hengist will be walking next to Bartleby, keeping an eye on him, but he's wary for ambush, so he's going to be looking out for any signs of the party being ambushed.
Okay.
Whether that's an arrow whistling past, a shout, or anything like that.
Okay, and Hazra, what's your plans?
My plan is to scout the way forward to the shrine, watching for any aggressive or anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
It's all pretty much out of the ordinary already, but
I
anything
need to
more
know,
out-
so because Bartleby's action takes him up to the shrine.
Yeah. So up to the shrine, I'll be literally scouting it. I will then go around the other side of the shrine to view out ahead to make sure that's all clear as well.
Okay then. So you sort of like
Gulliver wants to, as you say, bring up the rear, keeping an eye out, keeping a dubious eye out behind. But he also wants to, before they maybe set off, he wants to have a look at the side of the road to see whether or not he can find a stone that's suitable for that he might be able to heft.
Okay then. So first things first. Bartleby, you're sort of like walking down here. You don't have your club up, but you do have a candle, which is lighting the way, and as well as yourself, and sort of like casting a glow around everybody else. So Hazra, or you can all make perception rolls for me. That would be absolutely fine.
Yes.
Oh, well, you get a tick first.
That's a point.
The first tick of the game. Okay then. So let's have a look. Okay then. So you
Hengist gets distracted by the wax dripping onto Bartleby's hand.
and yeah, you're sort of like just thinking. You're actually walking along thinking that you don't hear or see anything, Hengist. You're just sort of like thinking that light is almost like a beacon. Almost like a beacon, as Bartleby sort of like walks like some kind of monk or holy figure, holding on to the candle as it burns. Gulliver, you do hear something. And it's almost as if the party are sort of like making the way to the shrine, and you're bringing up the rear, and they're sort of like really carefully sort of like moving along. And Bartleby and Hazra and Hengist are sort of like got to the shrine, and you hear what you definitely feel is the sound of a door opening, a creak or something, and you sort of like look, you quickly sort of like glance around, and you notice that opposite the street, a little bit past where you've walked, if that makes sense. So if you've walked down here, you're here, and it's sort of like from there, you sort of like scan round, and you notice that a door is open. Now what I need you to do, depending on what you wish to do, Gulliver, I will need a initiative for you, depending on what you wish to do. So if you roll your initiative first, don't forget to click on your token.
Just so you know, at the moment we don't have Longshanks. His camera's empty.
That's all right. I
Been
can see.
taken already.
I can see his shadow. I
Okay.
can see his shadow. Okay, cool. Let me just roll this. Yeah. So.
So can I just get the area right? So the shrine's up ahead.
Yeah.
We're just
You're
getting
going down the street. The shrine is up ahead on the right.
okay, and the door has opened ahead of me.
It's slightly behind you.
Right.
It's as if somebody let the party go by.
Okay.
And then has opened it behind you, just opposite the street. And you just sort of like turn round, and you know what we're saying is that it's literally, you heard the door, you turn round, and now we're going into 6-second rounds. So you don't have to take an offensive action if you don't wish. You can cast a spell. You can use your action to perform a perception roll or whatever.
Okay. Can I use a free action to make a tactical perception roll to see whether or not I can see any shadows in the doorway of somebody moving?
Yeah. Okay then. You can't see anybody moving.
Right. Right. Okay.
What do you wish to do?
What else is about me? Is there anywhere that I can dive behind?
Yeah, you can take cover. Do you wish to evade, as in dive out the way, or do you just wish to move and take cover? Either or is completely up to you.
If there's something like a cart or something like that, I want to evade and get behind it.
Okay, so you could probably just move and get behind it. That wouldn't be an issue. You've still got your movement and you're working first, so you're acting first. So you sort of like turn around. You don't see any movement at all from the crack in the doorway, and you sort of like then move quickly and take up cover behind a wagon. So you've got roughly about 50 to 60% cover, and what you do see at this point is that you see something hurled from the doorway. Okay, it looks as if it comes from out of the doorway. Does that make sense? You don't see anything in the doorway. It's definitely somebody or something that is further in the door, away from the line of sight, and it comes flying out, and it seems to be heading. Let me just do this for you. Yeah, it comes flying out at a terrific speed. You see it as it comes along, and it seems to be some kind of stone or some kind of small pebble. And as you can see from the skill roll, it doesn't even reach the back of Bartleby or anything like that. It just sort of like flows out, and it's as if somebody's going like this, and it just sort of like falls down to the ground. And yeah, and you have your next action, Gulliver.
I don't have a free action to speak, do I?
Well, you used up your free action on a tactical perception. Yeah. So what you could do?
Okay, I'm going to use my action point to speak a phrase.
Yeah.
And I mean, the rest of the party isn't aware of it. So Gulliver's going to sort of like say, almost like in a hushed whisper, but with some urgency to it. And he's going to say, "Look out behind! Somebody's just thrown something at us."
Okay, and so the rest of you hear this. Can you now roll your initiatives now? And it should appear on the thing for me. Let's just rearrange you. Okay then. So we're going to say, just for the sake of ease, that this is now combat round 2, because all that happened in 6 seconds, which seems appropriate. So now we're on to combat round 2, and Hazra, you're going first with your 18, and you hear what Gulliver has just said to you.
So hearing that, Hazra will pivot on his foot, and he wants to scan the area, doing a perception check to see what he can see.
Okay then, go for it. Gulliver, you're act on 17. What would you like to do?
He can't see anything in the doorway.
No.
Okay. He wants to move across the street, but as he does, he wants to see whether or not he can get a look at maybe what's in. You'd probably only be able to see a silhouette depending on where the light is, but he just wants to see whether or not it's big or small.
Okay, so your first action will be to move across the street. Yeah. So you're now on the opposite. You're on the same side of the street as where the open door is. Hazra, you quickly glance around and you see no obvious signs of a threat. However, you do see a door just on Gulliver's side of the road. You see Gulliver moving across, as you see, and you see the door ahead of him. It suddenly seems to be ajar. You can't see anything beyond that. Bartleby, what would you like to do?
Having heard Gulliver say that there's somebody behind us, who can I touch? Actually, is my first question.
You're probably in range for both Hazra or Hengist. It would be completely up to you.
Okay, I'm going to panic and I'm going to call on Amriel to protect Hazra because he's barely wearing armor, if I may. Just jump around to the magic. It is there and there.
Yeah, cool. So you will have protection on you, Hazra, so please do remember it when it comes off. I'll put it on your little character sheet here for you as well, just to help you. Where's my...
Just keep you safe.
Thank you.
There you go. We're going up to you, Hengist.
So Hengist is... He's going to turn around and take a couple of steps forward so that he's the closest one to the door. He's not going all the way up to the door, so he's going to be sort of like a step or two in front of where Gulliver's hiding, behind the cart, and then so that it's the door, Hengist, Gully, and then whoever else is behind, and he's going to have his shield up and ready, and that's it.
Okay then, so you move off in the general direction, and as you move towards to take a defensive place in front of Gulliver, you notice that as you get into the place, the door closes. Hengist, you're the closest one to it at the moment, so can you make a perception roll for me, please? Your best skill ever.
I just saw Chuggerwugger's eyes closed then.
You hear the door slam shut rather forcibly. And what would people like to do? I'm going to step us out of combat for the time being, because the door's shut now. So anybody wishes to move, or what you need to do, it's completely up to you.
Hengist, he's going to say, I don't think they meant us all that much harm, to be honest with you, Hengist. It was only a pebble, and they threw it from the safety of the house, almost as if when I used to do when we were an orphan and we used to want to annoy the merchants, we used to throw stuff at them from the side streets just when they used to scold us, when we used to try to pinch their wares.
Okay.
It didn't sound like it didn't seem like it was an action that they were going to try to kill us. It was more...
Perhaps it was a warning.
You're not wanted here, kind of.
Hengist is going to walk towards... Is the pebble an obvious pebble that it's been...
Oh yeah, you won't be able to see the pebble anymore. It was because it's just part of the everyday rocks and boulders.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm going to say, perhaps it was a warning for us to leave. I think we should complete our business here and move on.
Our business isn't here. Our business is in Lindowe.
Did you want to do something, Hazra?
Yeah, I was going to say, Hazra was going to pretty much say the same thing to Bartleby. It's more like, Bartleby, they seem to be like people trying to get away a dangerous animal or a cat away from the houses by throwing rocks. It seems very strange.
I was
Perhaps
certainly
if we-
hoping that we could sleep indoors tonight, though. Maybe if I talk to them, that they're home, certainly. Then maybe they'll listen to
No,
a bit of Amriel.
I would love you to try, but I think your priority is to find the shrine first and have a look at it.
You're stood right next to the shrine. You sort of like, as Bartleby and Hazra, you're sort of like having this conversation between you. You suddenly hear from on the opposite side of the street, from where the tavern was. You hear a door open, and you hear a quite familiar voice of the innkeeper, the tavern guy there. Above it's the Lamb and Plough, if you remember. And he sort of like, you notice that he seems to have a lantern that's sort of like illuminating his face. And he sort of like looks over, and he sort of like says, friends, quick, inside, quickly. And he opens the door a little bit wider, and you notice that there is light emanating from inside. And he sort of like has his lantern, and he's sort of like signaling you over to the plough, Lamb and Plough.
Gulliver's going to head over.
Bartleby, you go ahead of me. I'll follow behind you.
With haste.
Yeah, so you sort of like go along with your candle out, Bartleby, as a beacon, as a beacon as you go in, and it's sort of like the tavern guy sort of like invites you all in, and as you all enter, he quickly shuts the door and bolts it. And also, you notice that there's several sort of like of the long tables that he sort of like presses back up against it as some of almost like a barricade. And he sort of like looks around, and you notice that there's the barmaid in there that, if you remember, is his daughter. And he sort of like says, come in. Come away from the windows. What are you doing back here?
We're on our way back to Lindowe, and the road passes through here. Why is there no?
Did you see them?
I couldn't see anything. Has your store run out of lantern oil? There was no lights at all.
No, we are keeping safe.
Safe from what?
A strange thing happened but a night ago. Were you on the road then?
A lot farther down the road.
Strange it was. Very strange. Come, sit down. Meg, bring us some ale. Yes, father. And she's
and cheese, if you have it.
Oh, I am sorry, young friend. I do not think the cheese will be worth eating. We are currently just eating dry, stale bread. The families are scared to even venture out after dark anymore. We have slain a few of our beasts, but we have yet to cook them. We are using salt to preserve them. But a strange thing happened. Come, sit down. Let me tell you.
You're so frightened.
And he sort of like signals you over to a table, and he sort of like comes for the first time ever and sort of like sits with you. And Meg brings over some tankards of wine, and you, he sort of like puts them out, and there's some dried bread put out, and he said, "Tell me, before I speak any further, did you encounter anything on the road?"
No, nothing. We saw nothing. We came straight here with no Nothing disturbing our travels.
That is worrying.
Gulliver wants to be watching him carefully as he's about to speak, and he wants to look to see whether or not he could be lying at all or exaggerate the truth.
Okay,
But
so make your insight roll
it's,
now. Yeah.
he likes stories as well, but there's my insight roll.
Cool. And he sort of like says, oh, where to begin? It was strange. It was very strange. It was dusk, but a night ago. Or was it before? I do not know. One evening, one night fades into another now. We were going about our normal business. The horses were being kept. People were enjoying. The lanterns were lit throughout the village. Everybody seemed quite positive. And then it started. Slowly at first. The laughter stopped first. People stopped talking, sat, sober, solemn. And then the animals, they started to whimper and hide. And we wondered what was happening. I went outside to see the rest of the town. And a fog hung in the air. Barely up to your knee, but it hung, covering the ground. Everywhere was still. People were outside, wondering what magic was falling onto us. And then the lights started to go out. Candles flickered and were extinguished. Lanterns flared for slightly longer before their light was also snuffed out of existence. Not even the light of Amriel's face beamed down onto us. The sky seemed to be covered in dark black clouds, and yet no one had foreseen the approach of rain. If anything, the night was to be mild and uneventful. And then we got cold, and we had this feeling of dread. Father, tell him what you did. Meg, please. I was very quick-witted, and I think quite lucky. I quickly slammed the door, and we bolted it from the inside. We were in darkness, and we observed the following by peering out of cracks in shutters and doors. We first heard the creaks of wagons, the rolling of wagons. It was all then accompanied by the movement, the footsteps of boots, walking, not running, and the sound of horses' hooves, plodding, pulling wagons that creaked. And then we saw them in the distance first. One jet black mare leading the troop, leading the convoy. On top rode a dark-robed man, or no, I am not sure what he is, or what she is. He was stooped, dressed in very dark crimson robes, with specks of colours that I fear that I cannot remember, and even now, as I sit here, trying to retell you the story, the images of that night flicker, and I try desperately to grab hold of them, but they seem to melt away into my mind. But I remember them coming. The man on the horse, wagons, many wagons, and the stomp of booted feet. No, wait. Although I only saw horses pulling the wagon, I swear there were other hooves pounding into the ground. And as they approached the town, Goodwool was encased in darkness. The mist of fog on the ground seemed to move and ripple like water as they passed through it. And as the lead rider got into the town, he halted, and as if they knew, everybody stopped. We were lucky. I had barred the door, and yet we still felt the draw of him. We felt the need to go out. Several men, young men, tried to get up and leave, but we stopped them. Sad to say, our stable boy was not so lucky. I saw him walk out of the stable, walk towards the awaiting man. He seemed to reach out some kind of hand. In the darkness, it was not clear what it was. And the boy walked back to the first wagon and stepped up on his own free will into the back under the cover that was there. And then others stepped out of houses and walked directly to him. Young men, strong men, young lads. And then, as if his job was done, he moved on. And we felt our life force being pulled along with him, dragged away from us, in danger of drawing us ever closer to him. And then, as row and row of creatures walked, almost like boar creatures with tusks, and masked men walked past. For what seemed like an age they walked and walked. But as the rider went off, our senses returned to us, and we were left in darkness. And as the last person left Goodwool, the mist, the fog which had been hanging in the air, slowly dissipated, leaving behind only dead and dying vegetation. We have only ventured out in the daylight, and as soon as dusk threatens to approach and engulf the village again, we return to our homes and we bolt the doors and we hide in tables, under tables, or in windowless rooms in case they return. We are somewhat fortunate that the great heroes have returned to us today. And he pauses and looks around, and you notice that everybody seems to be rather glum and saddened by the story, as if it's reignited that dread of that night.
Gulliver's going to say, almost like in a hushed tone, as the man was speaking, he's going to say, "The wagons. Which way did they come from, and where do you think they were heading?"
They came from the direction of Lindowe, and they headed, and he points to the way out towards Lucius's villa. They headed straight through.
They came from the villa.
No, they came from the Lindowe, the same direction as you came in to start off with, Si.
Mm-hmm.
And they came from that area, and they went through the town, and they left the way that you've come back from.
Okay.
Where we tied the horses up.
Yeah, because I think originally you left as if you were going back to Lindowe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The people that went to the wagons, the villagers, were they all men and boys?
Yes. Some are our strongest. Good workers. They just seem to go on their own free will, drawn by some magical, mystical power.
It sounds like a recruiting army or something. They seem to be they came in here and took your strongest fighter, your strongest people.
It was as if they weren't coming here. It was as if they were passing through.
Can you tell us anything else about the people who were with this robed man? Did you see any females at all?
Not that I remember. My memory fades. Even as we're talking, those images are hard. They run through my mind like grains of sand slowly draining from a slightly open hand. I am sure in a few days I will probably remember nothing. If it was not for my own sight, I would have probably exclaimed it was but a dream. And there's something very strange. I and others are finding it hard to remember who left. Even now, I do not remember the stable boy's name, or even that I had a stable boy.
I think there could be some type of magic involved in all this. I don't think the people of the village would have left on their own accord. Especially, it only seemed to be the most able-bodied of the people that lived here. There was no old men, or was there anybody who was injured or weak, maybe with a funny leg or something like that? And there was no women taken.
Taken?
Well, not taken. No women went.
Went where, Gulliver?
With the caravans.
Oh yes, the caravan. Was that 2 nights ago, Meg? Or last night? Meg sort of like turns and says, "What caravan are you talking about, Father?" And he sort of like, he looks again and he says, "Why is the door boarded up? We should be having fun. We should be having a celebration. Why is everybody so quiet? Meg, turn the lights on, for crying out loud. This is a tavern, not a mortuary." And Megan just seems to stand up, and he sort of like starts to walk over to the door, and so he sort of like pushes the table back, and Meg starts to light lanterns, and he sort of like looks over to you all sort of like sat there, and he says, "Friends, it is great to have you back. I hope your journey went well." And he sort of says, "Meg, bring food." And Meg sort of says, we have no food, Father. "Our larder, well, put on the ovens and let's bake our people, our friends here, some hearty meals." And you also hear outside, and you notice from the cracks of the window of the shutters that Meg has started to open, that lights have started to appear down the streets. And you, for the first time since you arrive, you hear the barking of a dog. Not a howl of a wolf, Gulliver, just a barking of a dog. And it was as if the whole of Goodwool had been stopped in a moment of time. And it was just sort of like that record player that slowly gets back into action when it goes like that. And the whole village seems to be coming back to life. And even as you sit there, people open the tavern door and come in. And sort of like Meg sort of like stokes up the fire, and people are arriving, and you're just left sat at your table enjoying the sight.
That seems rather odd. Seems like they were under some sort of bewitchment or something.
I don't know what's happened.
I feel we should have the horses close by in case something else happens.
Yes. Would you like me to go? Would you like me to go get the horses?
You can do. I mean, we can't send the stable boy because he went with the robed person.
What stable boy? No,
That's not funny, Hazra.
it's not. I'm sorry.
I'll go with you, Hazard, to get the horses.
No, it'd be fine. I should be able to bring you. You rest up. You've had a wearying time.
So Hazra, you head off and you find the horses. Gulliver's and Bartleby's weren't tethered that well, and they've wandered off a slight way, but you managed to sort of like regain them and bring them back to the tavern. And you take them round to the stable, and you sort of like bring them in, and sort of like as predicted, there's no stable boy there at all, and you sort of like take them in and tether the horses and then go back into the tavern. Hengist, Bartleby and Gulliver, is there anything you would like to be doing or to do while Hazra is doing all this?
Yeah, Gulliver's going to say, we didn't see the wagons.
Thank Amriel and her beautiful heavens. We didn't see that. I don't want to experience what they experienced.
But if they left Goodwool the same way that we did, would they not have had to pass the road that we were on?
Perhaps they did exactly what we did and just went off off track.
Or perhaps they passed when we were further in the forests.
It's not as easy as wagons. Would we not have heard them?
Perhaps perhaps what happened to Goodwool happened to us, and we did see, but now can no longer remember.
What are you going to do now, Hengist? I would hate to be torn like you are now.
I know what you mean, Gulliver. It's I'll need to sleep on it and decide in the morning. But I feel that we need to get back to Lindowe, and that's our best chance. Because I can't fight all of them on my own. I could probably take on half of them, but not all of them.
At the very least, we now know the calling card of this dark crimson-robed villain.
It will be interesting to see if this has happened to other places along the road down to Lindowe.
I'm certain that it is, but at least we'll know what to expect, to an extent. It seems it's a perversion of at least my prayer of calm, seemed. Rather than calm, it made everybody fearful and then disappeared. Gulliver, is there any school or of magic or order that would be like that? Make people forget, make people feel different things? That's not any of the main orders, is it?
Nothing that I've read up about. It's definitely not in the Order of the Kraken. I'm not too familiar with the spells of the other orders. Only the ones that we have in common.
Gulliver, you can make a passion roll if you wish.
There are spells that we have in common, but it doesn't ring any bells of anything else. But what you got to remember, Bartleby, is that I haven't been here very, very long, and I'm only an apprentice in the orders.
Are there rooms in your order that contain forbidden tomes?
I know of. There's a library, and there's certain books that we're not allowed to take out. I suppose those are forbidden tomes, aren't they?
I guess I was thinking more of anything that you're forbidden from even reading, anything that's protected, or that might give us an idea of who we're dealing with, how to fight back, I guess, is what I'm curious.
I'm more curious of where they're going, to be honest with you, Bartleby. The map, the one that we got from the mosaic. You say you know a bit about the area through your history. Do you know which direction it is? Could they be heading there?
If I'm not mistaken, it's much more up north because it's part. I mean, we saw the Eel River on the map, and Eel River is going to mostly be up north. Same with Father's Spike and the Black Veil Mountains.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a trek. You're talking weeks going on to months to actually travel overland up to that distance. It's not as if it's just like 2 days away or anything like that.
Do you know if the Order of the Kraken might have a circle of blue light up there?
Only I would need to speak to Mistress Duncan when I got back to see. I don't know where all the portals are, to be honest with you. Only the ones that I'm told about.
That's fair.
There's some that, well, and I don't get told about, and no.
I think either they're heading to where we just were to see the mosaic and find any other clues, or they already know and they're heading to towards the Eel River and Father's Spike. there's no way we can beat them if they're already on their way, unless we have
Well,
something
then-
at your order.
Yeah, I don't think it seemed weird that they would be going to following the clue for the Chaos Mother's temple. Though, I mean, if you want to go somewhere to get information, you don't head there on carts. You would send somebody who could get there fast and get the information, and that's what I thought maybe those other two people were.
The innkeeper comes, the tavern keeper comes back over to you, and he sort of like fills up any tankards that have been drained or lacking complete amounts in. And he sort of like looks at you, and Hazra's coming back through the door now, and he sort of like looks at you and he says, will you be staying the night before heading back to Lindowe, or are you heading straight off? Shall I prepare rooms for you?
Yes, please. That would be very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And he goes off.
And I hope you don't mind, Sir Innkeeper, but I've stabled our horses in your fine stable, and I've rubbed them down and given them some of the grain that was there.
That's absolutely fine.
Thank you, kind sir.
We can settle up for it later, not a problem. And he sort of like orders Meg, the barmaid, to go upstairs and prepare rooms, and for the rest of your if you are staying the night.
Yes, I think it's wise we should stay the night, definitely. And then maybe in the morning I could have a look at the road ahead to see if I can see any tracks, or maybe go back to the road behind us before we set off and see if there are any wagon tracks. Because if these wagons you have told me about for carrying people, or the intention about for carrying people, there'd be quite deep grooves in the ground, I would have thought. So, and these what he described, I can only assume the Borkin. Then perhaps they had hoof feet, didn't they?
Do you think he was lying, Hazra, about the wagons?
Oh, sorry,
What-
Gulliver. I didn't say anything to you throughout that because your insight roll, you think he was telling the truth from beginning to end.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I can't imagine why he would make such a strange thing up, because how would he know what one is? He described it as what he saw. Men with like both faces and animal aspects. So that's all I can think of it. And I'm assuming he would never have seen one of these creatures before.
He seemed
And this little
very
hamlet.
sincere with what he was saying. I just thought maybe you didn't believe him, Hazra, when you said you were going to go out and look for the...
No, I just wanted to see if they went in that direction, or if they turned off the road, or if they left the village, because we saw nothing.
It's probably a good idea to sort of like move up to your rooms now. Remember, you've got opposite rooms. I think
Yeah.
2 of you were together and 2 of you were in another room. Yeah, there's about one silver piece, a couple of silver pieces per night. But he's sort of like an extra silver piece for the horses, etc. And he sort of like shows you to your rooms, and you can be in one room. We'll say that you're actually in one room chatting about this upstairs, and you notice that while you're sat there talking, there's a slight knock on the door. And one of you goes to open it. You're not fearing that you're going to be attacked or anything, and the innkeeper is there, and he has a folded up piece of paper that has been folded up, so at the end bit the paper sort of like flips over like that, if that makes sense, and there's a wax seal on it, and across the top it just says "Send to Lindowe." And you notice that Bartleby and Gulliver, you notice that all of those 3 words are incorrectly spelt. Send has none of the N in it. 2 is, it looks almost like a number 11, and then you figure out that it's actually a numeral. And then Lindowe is sort of like spelt like nothing you have ever seen in your life. But you sort of like pick it out and it says Lindowe, and the tavern guy says, the barkeeper sort of says, oh, he says, don't ask me. He says, but would you mind taking this to Lindowe? It seems on the front it says, send to Lindowe. I'm not too sure what or why, but would you be so kind enough to take it with you in the morning, if you are planning on leaving tomorrow? But if not, another day, I'm quite welcome. But if you could do this for me, then I will throw in your food for your stay here for today. Obviously, I'll throw in breakfast as well if you wish. But would you be kind enough to send this to Lindowe?
Who in Lindowe?
Particular that you want us to give it to?
Yeah, he sort of like thinks for a while, and he says, I think somebody left it. Would you mind sending it to Lindowe? I'm quite happy to give you your food for the night free of charge. If as compensation for your delivery.
Yes, of course we will. Yes, no problem. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and sleep well, good travellers.
Take the letter from him.
Yeah, Gulliver. Once you pick it up, I mean, you're used to parchments, and you don't actually think it's a piece of parchment. It's probably some kind of stretched, dry animal skin. Of some description. Even as you pick it up from it, you notice a bit of a bristly feel on the outside as you think, and you notice it's not fine parchment. It's probably animal skin and quite chunky as that. And as I said, it's sealed with a.
Yeah. So once the tavern keeper has gone. Gulliver wants to take it over to a bit better light, and he wants to have a look at the wax.
Yeah,
seal.
the seal is definitely, it's the same as the sign outside. It's actually the seal of the Lamb and Plough Tavern. It's probably used for any official documentation or trade. It's not done by paying normal bills, but maybe to local merchants if anything is paid or bought back and forwards. Then this is obviously the stamp that is put at the end of documents.
What do you make of this?
I don't trust it.
He says that somebody left it, and you are saying that it's the seal of the inn. So somebody in the inn must have put a stamp on it. But he says somebody left it. How odd.
It doesn't seem to be written on paper. It's almost like leathery.
Perhaps it's sheepskin. That seems to be the abundant animal around here.
Are you getting any sight from it, Bartleby?
I was just about to call on Amriel to reveal to me whether this is cursed with evil magics.
Yeah, roll your skill check.
Just taking off that magic point and pow and pow.
Yeah, there seems to be no magic on it at all. There's no residual magic at all. It seems to be completely devoid. And just out of interest, you sort of like have a quick look out the shuttered window, and you notice that any residual magic that you saw before outside has gone altogether. And the as you look outside, Bartleby, it's almost like, I mean, it is dark, but the sort of like the village looks like it's come back to life.
Gulliver's going to put the letter on the table, and then he's going to get out his dagger, and he's going to pop it under the seal, and open it, and as he does it, he's going to say, "We need to know who to give it to."
And what kind of dagger is it?
It's just a dagger.
It's just a normal.
It's actually well, I tell you which dagger it is. It's the dagger which I got because I didn't replace it. It's the dagger that I got from the Viper. Do you know?
Oh yes, I know which one you mean.
We found several bits.
Yeah, so you slide it underneath, and the wax seal quite easily breaks, and you sort of like outstretch it, and it definitely is a piece of parchment. And just can you just roll your literacy, and Bartleby, you can roll yours as well, because you'll probably come over to sort of like have a look at it together. Yeah, so you pick some information up for it, Bartleby, but not a huge amount. You see it's something about requesting, and that's all you sort of like get for it. So remember, Hazra and Gulliver, are you going to share this?
No, yeah, so as it's set out in front of him, Gulliver's sort of like going to be going along with his like finger under the words, and he's going to be pronouncing them out as he goes, with probably Bartleby helping out with certain words or trying to contradict him on others, and Gulliver say, "Well, no, that doesn't make sense, Bartleby."
Yeah, so remember, so just for the people who are watching, remember the percentile dice is the dice of action here. So you can see from the skill thing next to me that Gulliver has a literacy roll of 51, a skill of 51, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he scored 34, which is below that. Any roll below 51 is a success, or any roll below the skill. Also, please remember that any roll of 0 to 5 is an automatic success. Any roll 96 or higher fails, and anything on a 99 or 100 actually fumbles. And then that's it. So you can see there from Gulliver that he's made the standard roll, and luckily he's also made the hard roll, which is the one further down. So that's a difficulty grade, and it just makes it nicely. And so you get the content of the letter, and what I propose that we do is that I'll give you the contents of the letter, and then we'll take our 10-minute break straight away then. So you sort of like look through it, and you sort of like spell out, and it's written in very broken, very bad common tongue. You know, there's letters missing, and even with Bartleby's help, it's really hard to decipher it. It's as if a young child has written it, but you get the gist of it. So what I'm going to give you is the gist. It's not word for word. It's just the gist that it gives. And it basically says something along the lines of, I'm writing this when I remember. So please take this to the cartographer. He says map maker or something similar to that. At least, and because in case I forget. Yep, do you get that?
And that's it.
Yeah.
Is it signed?
It's signed, the owner of the tavern. and we will leave it there, and we'll have a quick 10-minute break. So we're off to have a 10-minute break, guys. Please go off, stretch your legs. If you want to look at YouTube or go and have a look at the cast and the party, then you can do by nipping over to the my web page there, or the YouTube video has rules, videos about the rules, so do go along and have a look. Apart from that, go off, get yourself a drink, have a bathroom break, buy a break, grab something to eat, and we will see you in 10 minutes. See you soon, guys.
I know every latest dance.
coming back. There you go.
Oh no, run away!
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, some of us are still eating. I've got a nice chocolate caramel latte here that I'm supping. But we are back, and yeah, at the end of the last episode, the party got some interesting news. Something very strange has happened in Goodwool while they've been away, and people are losing their memories. Although it would appear that someone had the foresight to actually write something down and to give it to the party, not because it was the party, but because they were hopefully going back to Lindowe. And
just out of interest, you gave us sort of like the brief version of it. Basically said, "I'm writing this unless I forget." But give it to the cartographer.
Yeah, map maker. Sorry,
the map maker. Does it actually say what went on?
No.
Does it have a map on it?
No.
Gulliver's going to say, "Well, what's the point of this? It doesn't say what's gone on. So how would he know whether or not he's forgotten or not?"
Maybe
Lanterns in the place.
Say again, sorry.
Do we have like a lantern or something?
Yes, yeah, you're in there. Yeah.
He's gonna see. Hengist, hold the lantern up.
Hengist will hold the lantern as fairly closely.
Oh, hold it up.
Angus will then hold the lantern up over his head.
The Gulliver wants to get the bit of parchment, and he wants to hold it up so that the light's behind the parchment to see whether or not anything shines through.
Just light. There doesn't seem to be any secret message or lemon juice being used or anything like that. Sorry, I was just looking that when clothing table, okay, they link clothing. I was looking at prices and it says clothing table, and they link gloves, socks, and underwear together, and I just thought that was really interesting. A hat is cheaper, and a vest. I think when it says a vest, it doesn't mean a vest, because it says
it means a string vest. I've read it.
It says vest or tabard, but then it says tunic or dress underneath it. And did you know it's 20 silver for a cheap pair of shoes, but only 4 silver for a pair of sandals? That's unbelievable, isn't it? So yeah, sorry, carry on. I just noticed that.
Well, not really, because shoes were luxury items and sandals were
Boots cost 25.
Would those have animal hide in them, though?
Possibly,
That might
yeah.
be what the cost is compared to wood and
A shirt, smock, or shift is 8 silver. On the cheap bracket, of course. Yeah. So yes.
Is there anything written around the side of it? Is there any other markings or runes or anything like that?
No, nothing at all. There just seems to be this crude message inscribed into this animal hide.
Does anybody know what kind of animal hide?
Hazard.
Can I have a quick look and see if I can see anything about it?
Just roll your survival skill.
Survival, yeah.
Or if anybody's got cooking, they can do it.
Oh.
It just looks like it's some kind of stretched sheep hide. Maybe
It's not human.
Oh no, definitely not.
I'd be a bit worried if it was human.
Or boar, Ken?
Oh yeah.
No, I wouldn't be worried about that at all.
Oh, I wish I'd thought of that. Drat.
I'll put it down.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm just going to add it.
Yeah.
Because if it's bull skin, it means they've killed them, which means they're friendly.
So is there anything...
No, it's only parchment inside your skin, so you just cut it off. Can't
Is there anything else you would like to do in the tavern or with this note before you head back to sleep for the night?
There was.
It's a bit odd that there's no message in it. You would have thought he would have written down what happened, what passed through the village.
Maybe he was forgetting as he was writing, as the innkeeper did downstairs with us when he was recounting his story. He finished it and then completely forgot.
Gulliver and Bartleby, whoever wrote this, you don't think they would be able to write a huge amount of description? You know, their literacy is probably something like, well, it's more than Hengist and Hasra's, but you know, it's probably something like 5%.
But we would have thought that maybe there would have been maybe things like take and wagons, maybe.
Well, it could have said anything.
Perhaps the cartographer, whomever we bring this to, or the map man, will know of some significance that we're missing.
He probably said mapman because cartographer is really hard to spell. K-A-R.
There's an F in there somewhere.
R. That's all I know.
Anything else you would like to do this night?
But didn't you mention something else about another map maker?
Oh yeah, the Fustilius, Fustilius Strump.
And he's in Lindowe.
That's what you believe.
Yeah, we might have to go see our old friend to see if he knows the whereabouts of others. Wonder if cartographers are all generally the same temperament.
Who do? If they're both map makers, who do we give it to? Who's it meant for?
Well, Sylvester will immediately tell us if it's of value or not. He'll spit in our face if it's not. But I figured we were going back and we would talk to him and search for Fustilius and perhaps deliver my wooden nightingale to my...
Oh, yes, friend. I forgot about that.
Maybe tomorrow over breakfast. Maybe when the tavern keeper comes, I can watch him closely to see whether or not he shows any sign of recognition, and maybe in conversation you could mention Sylvester to see whether or not.
Ah, yes, I see what you're saying. See if he knows perhaps of what he meant before he forgot.
Well, I think he only forgot the what happened last night. He remembered us, and that was before when the wagons went. So if he had met Sylvester before then, or knew about Sylvester being in Lindowe, then he would still remember him, wouldn't he?
I think so.
So if I watch him closely, and I don't know, maybe you and Hengist are just having a conversation, then as he comes up, you mention something about Sylvester, and I can see whether or not there's a spark of acknowledgement of him knowing him.
Yes, that sounds like an excellent plan.
Okay, excellent.
We'll be able to figure out who to go to in the morning.
Okay then, so I'm assuming that you all head off to bed and you sleep quite well throughout the night, and you wake how it's accustomed in most inns, shortly after sunrise. There's knocks on your door, there's fresh water brought up for any of those people who would like to wash. And then you go down to the tap room, for a breakfast, and the first thing that you do notice when you go downstairs is that there's a complete change of atmosphere than the night before, and the silent area that you walked in. People seem to be getting on with their business. The barkeeper is whistling. It seems to be sunny but not necessarily warm outside, but it looks like it's a hearty day, and there's everybody is in really good spirits. Tell me about this plan that you wish to do.
When when the barkeep gets kind of close to give us food or something, Bartleby will be saying something like, imagine talking about cartographers and needing to go get maps made for some sort of recreational purpose, and the purpose is to have Bartleby look kind of flustered, and when the barkeep approaches, Bartleby would say, like, do you have any idea where we could go to get a good map made in Lindowe?
Yeah, the tavern keeper sort of like puts down whatever he was bringing to you, and then he sort of like turns around to you and he says, "Oh, there is always a very good map maker in Lindowe. His name, I know him very well. His name was, or still is, Sylvester. I'm not too sure of his surname. We actually did a bit of adventuring together at one point, you know, before I became an innkeeper and he became a map maker. You know, between you and I think it was possibly the best career choice he ever made. I mean, I don't know whether or not I should tell you this or not, but shall we just say he wasn't the most fighting of people. He was rather clumsy, if you see what I mean, but he has a steady hand for map making. He sometimes comes out to visit us out here, but not that often now. I think sat in his chair all day is certainly paying its toll on the old man's body."
You used to be an adventurer.
Well, yes, that's probably a little bit over the top. Let me think what might be. Maybe it's best to say that he just adventured. You know, he
Was there just you and him, or was there like a whole party?
There was quite a group of us. Sadly, Margot died. That was a nasty spirit that lurked in that tomb. I guess we should never have gone in to plunder it in the first place, but you know, sometimes people's eyes are bigger than their brains, and sometimes, you know, you stumble into anything. Anyway, poor Marigold never came out with her senses. She became slightly senile at such a young age, and slightly, yes, shall we just say, she forgot that she would have to use the bedpan in certain times. I do remember once I think she just crouched in the street on the way back. But I am boring you with my past tales. Yes, if you want a good map maker, I would definitely see Sylvester. He's, like I say, he's very good with his hands, but not much else these days. I presume he still has his fine mind to draw back on, and that's about it.
I think somebody else who we were talking to recommended Fustilius.
Yeah, you wouldn't know Fustilius, would you?
No. That's not a name I recognise at all.
Oh, well.
Will he have been to Goodwool?
Oh, I've no idea. It was just a name that we had heard of.
Roll your insight roll, please.
Hey?
Roll your insight roll.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's telling the truth.
Well, thank you very much. We shall. We shall.
Will you be leaving today?
Yes. We certainly will. Sorry.
By the way, last night's meal's on me. And Meg sort of like says, "Oh, Father, I don't know what's come over you." Well, they have been good customers to us. Yes, I will. Would you like me to pack something up for your journey back to Lindowe?
Oh, that would be very nice. Sorry. What should we call you?
Barkeeper's fine. Bert.
Oh, thank you very much, Bert. That would be lovely.
Yeah, I think he goes and makes you some jerkin, some lamb jerkin that you can makes you up backpacks and sort of like charges you each 2 silver pieces for the favor. Is there anything else you would like to do in Goodwool before you head
Become
off?
a barkeep. It pays better than adventuring.
No, that's not true. You're getting paid for this job.
2 silver.
I'm sure you're getting paid for this job.
I'm sure we are.
We are, yes.
I think you said 20,000 between us.
No, it's each.
I'm just looking back to see. I've got it written.
10,000 it was between us.
It was the reward is 4,000 silver pieces, and I don't think you pressed him. So that would be 1,000 silver pieces for each of you.
Big money.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we wouldn't have
Well, if you're also waiting.
This means we won't be able to move.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, a superior villa or mansion per 4 bedrooms is 200,000 silver pieces.
We
That's
might
quite
be
nice.
a bit of a way off that.
Yeah, a hovel or a shack is 100 silver pieces.
That's more. Is
I
that
can buy 3 of those and knock them together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the plan is to head back to.
All right, just before you go, is there anything else you wish to do in Goodwool before you leave on your journey back?
I would like to briefly go to the blacksmith and see if he's got any short spears made.
This place is not the place of
No,
weapons.
fair enough. It's a long shot, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
I
probably
just tried Maggie
the
in the store.
the barmaid that approached us outside the tavern is that Bert's
Yes.
daughter.
Yeah.
sorry, Mr. Pickles, you broke up when you were saying that.
Oh, I was just saying, wouldn't we go to? We could try Maggie's. She was the general store owner.
Yeah,
in town. She might have something sharp.
Yeah, something sharp, a good spade head. Yeah, it's more of a town of agriculture rather than
Nails,
You
knitting.
could get a shepherd's crook.
yeah. Get a big
There's
stick.
nothing like Gulliver wants to be doing.
No, Hengist is fine. Hengist wants to get on.
Yeah, I would still have a quick scoot around the where we came in. I would saddle the horses for everybody and then shoot off quickly before we left and have a quick look at the road we came in on last night. I just checked for any wagon tracks and the same thing going forward on the road. Look for any wagon trucks coming into. I mean, this is a large group apparently that came in a few days ago.
So
I'd like to
roll your tracking skill, yeah.
Sorry, I did that.
Yeah, there's definitely wagons have been through here.
Wonderful.
If I can interrupt, we never actually went to the shrine, did we?
No, but you probably looked at it and it looked very similar to what it looked like before. The only difference was if there was anything that was there that was vegetation or flowers or anything like that, that was all wilted and dead. And you notice that as you have a look at it on the way out today, that's been removed and there seems to be fresh offering to the god of Tabris there at the moment.
I'll offer another candle and then move along.
Okay, so it takes you some time to actually ride back to Lindowe, and after a few days of riding, you know, you're sore, you're not used to this sort of like riding, and you arrive back at Lindowe, and of course you're more likely to head straight to the hairy hobgoblin or to your order houses to rest and recuperate, which will give magic points and tenacity points back. When you arrive back, you were going to have a brief amount of downtime. Just a brief amount. You will have 3 experience rolls each. Of course, Hengist, that'll take yours down to 2. That you can either use now or you can hoard for later. It really depends how long you want to stay in Lindowe. So it's worth having a think out of character or in character, is completely up to you. How long you're planning on staying here? Obviously, you arrived sort of like late last night and you've gone to your appropriate accommodation and you've rested through the night, and you're meeting once again at the Hairy Hobgoblin to decide a way forward. And we'll jump into you then.
Well, we need to go and see Sylvester. We should probably do that fairly quickly. What about that chief scholar? Should we not go and talk to him to update him on what we've found from the villa and collect payment, hopefully?
I think that would be wise. But I think we should spend time trying to gather as much information as we can on where we're going. I need to speak to the people in the order to see whether or not there's any way that we can get there faster than horseback. And I'm sure others have information that they want to find out. Perhaps I could go and speak to Sylvester and find out any information from my order. Maybe there is a portal that can get us on our way. I would need information from you though, Bartleby, to say whereabouts we're going.
Yeah, we'll need to. Well, hopefully we can resolve that talking to Sylvester and finding perhaps Fustilius. Get an idea of where we need to go.
Well, Sylvester's probably your best shot at that. You know, I mean, Sylvester is a cartographer, so you assume that he might know of Fustilius. It might be that he's a rival, or might know of him. So that seems to be a sensible place to sort of like go to first, and then see what he knows of both the Fustilius and what's the other thing that you wanted to ask him about, Gulliver?
I wanted to give him the letter and tell him about what had happened in the information that happened in the town. Okay
then. So shall we pop? Would you like to go to Sylvester's first?
Yeah, I mean, once rested, and then I think that'd be a good place.
Okay, then. Let me get Sylvester out.
At some point, we should try just bringing him a bottle of wine. He might be a little bit nicer to us. Isn't he always drinking red wine?
He certainly is. A nice claret, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, so you head through the streets of Lindowe, and it's mid-morning, so it's busy. The Count Bastion dolphin guards are on duty and walking around. There doesn't seem to be any sort of like talk of attacks or anything like that from, that was quite a few months ago. And as you approach Sylvester's shop, you get that almost like that feeling of dread. And you know that this encounter is going to be very much like all the others that you encounter, where he's going to most probably talk down to you and really sort of like treat you with disdain. And you get to the shop and you open the door, and that now familiar musty smell of parchments, etc., sort of like hit you, as well as the smell of his rather flavoursome tobacco that he's always smoking when you're around. And he sort of like, you go in and you open the door and you shut it, and he sort of like looks up and he puts his head back down and he just says, "Oh boy." And then he says, "How can I help you?"
Hello, Sylvester. How are you?
He just sort of goes as he continues to write on his parchment.
Is there any news on your cousin? Is there any improvement in their health?
He sort of like looks at you and sort of like says, "How can I help?"
I have a well, we've been to Goodwool, and we were talking to Bert.
Is this a passing update, a report on your recent activities? Because really and truly, I do not have the time to listen to your, shall we say, exploits.
No, he asked us to give you a letter.
That's fine. Hand it over.
Gulliver hand the letter over.
Yeah, he's sort of like takes it from you, then sort of like feels it and says, "Oh, really?" And he just sort of like drops it next to him. He seems to take no notice of it, and he goes back to his scribing, and he just says to you, "Unfortunate that the seal has been broken, obviously on the journey here."
Oh no, he gave it to us, but he didn't say who it was for.
So this is not for me?
Well, he seemed to know you. He said that you used to adventure together. Well, he said that you didn't do well. Yeah.
Sorry, he says, is this a chat up and a catch up of old friends, or do you actually require something?
I don't know whether or not we do. Do we require anything else?
We thought you'd be more concerned about the troubles befalling your friend.
What troubles would that be?
There was foul magic in his town. Evil magic that traveled with a vile robed individual.
Can Gulliver make a perception check to see whether or not he has the same type of ring on that Lord Dreyfus has?
Yeah, by all means. He hasn't actually looked at the letter, by the way.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
Okay, thank you.
I guess if you don't care about your friend.
I have no friends. I have clients and people who choose to work with me due to my expert skills, and that's about it.
Well, that's very troubling, Mr. Macoon, but we do actually have a request. We're trying to locate an area, and we were wondering if you might be able to help. I know the names, I think, and we have a drawing of where it might look like.
And where is this place that you're seeking?
We're looking for a little town. There's a town, right, guys? It's a little town in the...
It's a walled town.
Well, a walled town.
Well, that narrows it down greatly.
It's on Eel River though, and I think Father Spike was in the background.
River, and it's surrounded by mountains.
Are you referring to the Black Veil Mountains?
Yes, the Black Veil Mountains. With Father Spike.
Yes. I'm afraid that is somewhat out of my area of map making. You are much better to seek out Fustilius Strump. Yes.
Where do you think that we'd find Fustilius?
Well, if you find him, let me know. Because I sent him some goods but 3 weeks ago now. And he has still yet to reply.
Where did you send the goods to?
His shop is, and he gives you some directions to his shop, is there. If you're paying him a visit, please try to insist that he brings me my rather impressive parchment round. He calls himself a map maker, cartographer, but really I think he's more of a double-dealing merchant. You know the kind.
Yes.
Those who move up from the streets and try to pretend they are merchants with shaky commerce skills. He looks at you, Gulliver.
Right.
Gulliver's just sort of like, if he's looking at him, he turns around sort of like to see who's behind him.
It's Hazra.
As if Gulliver thinks that he's looking, and then he looks at Hazra and he'll turn back to Sylvester and he'll just sort of like nod his head.
Anything else that I can do for you today?
No, I think.
I suppose not.
Yes.
Will you be returning to me with news of Fustilius?
And if we can get your impressive parchment back, we will.
Well, not back. I ordered it. I tend to have an agreement with him. You know, he's quite a rubbish map maker, but he does have some limited skills in the art of parchment making. Limited, I tell you. Notice that word, limited. And he looks again at you, Gulliver.
Is there a difference between a map maker and a cartographer then?
Well, cartographers are obviously quite more senior and have a lot more skill at map makers. Map makers tend to do the dirty work. They tend to get out there, you know, huddle underneath overhanging rock cliffs and sketch out the area. For me, it is much more of a noble art to actually be able to create it from memory. I am well travelled.
Did you ever travel with Fustilius? Adventure with him, perhaps?
Please. He is lacking both skill, charm, and any decent talent. I would much prefer to travel with a dog. And he looks at Hazra.
Hazra will just bow.
Thank you, Sylvester.
Yeah, we best be going.
Yes, and don't forget to please give me a send. Please come back as soon as possible with that parchment. As you can see, and he points over to this huge stack of parchment. Hey, I will soon be running low.
We certainly will.
And you sort of like go to leave the shop, and he says, "Oh, one moment." And he reaches down, he opens a drawer, and he takes out what appears to be a key, and he sort of like puts it on the table in front of him and says, And that's the key to Fustilius' shop, by the way. It's not really his shop. He rents it from me. It's the least I could do to common folks like him. Yes, he has one as well, but you know what it's like, Mr. Bartleby. You know, always make sure you have a double entry strategy. Much more sensible that way. And he looks at you, Gulliver, I would want it back, young boy.
Gulliver just nod. And he'll go and pick up the key.
Are you wearing the ring?
I don't have a ring. I just have the phrase.
All right. Yeah. Cool.
Sorry, the ring. I don't have the handshake. Oh yes, I do have the handshake. It's when you don't have a thumb.
Yes.
But
you don't have a ring. Yeah.
I don't have a ring.
Cool.
But I won't see whether or not he had a ring.
Yeah.
As Dreyfus has a ring.
Okay then. So you're heading out to Fustilius' shop. Is that the idea?
Yes.
That is the plan.
Okay then. So it's more towards number 3 on the map, if you can see it. It's not. It's further towards the outskirts of the main sort of like commerce place, and you see it. It almost like looks like it's a shop that's been made in a gap. You know, it's very narrow. It's literally got a door and a small window, and it's got a crudely made sign over the top of it that says Fustilius' map maker. It doesn't actually say cartographer at all. And as you get close, you notice that the door is closed and the outside shutters on the windows are closed as well. And you know, it looks like it's not open.
What are the shops to either side of it?
Yeah, the one to the left. Let me just check. The one to the left seems to be some kind of tailor, silk crafting shop to the left of it, and the one to the right of it seems to be some kind of spice or herbs or something like that, more for cooking rather than actually remedies.
Are there any street vendors about near the shop that?
Yeah, there's plenty. There's people wandering back. There's people in the shops on both sides. There's people pushing barrows around trying to sell flowers. You know, there's the odd nightingale seller there as well. You know, it's not a quiet street. It's not super busy either, but there's plenty of people around to ask questions if that's what you would like to do.
Gulliver wants to go up and see whether or not he can see through the shuttered windows. So he'll go up and he'll put his hand. Yeah,
just make a perception roll for me. Remember, this is just for me to see how much information you can see through it. Yeah, you look through it. It seems very dark inside. There doesn't seem to be any sort of like other windows apart from this, and it seems to be a rather disorganized shop. It looks very similar to Sylvester's shop, but it's a lot more. It's just piles of stuff. It doesn't have the containing cabinets or anything like that. It's just piles of stuff, and it just seems to have tables left, right, and centre with stuff piled up on it. Mostly parchment, but some rolled, some flat, the odd book. You can see that there seems to be some kind of counter at one end. But apart from that, it looks completely empty.
Okay, he'll try the door.
Yeah, and the door's definitely locked. You can see that it's got a tumbler lock on it. And you notice as you do it, what appears to be a young street urchin of some description comes up to you. It seems to be a little girl, maybe about 12, 13, dark and grubby, so with tattered clothes on, and she sort of like looks up to you and says, "He's out."
Oh, well, we need a map making. Do you know when he'll be back?
I don't know when he went. He's been shut for ages. Normally gives me an apple. I haven't had an apple for a whole 3 days. You don't have an apple, good sir, do you?
I don't, I'm afraid.
You don't have anything you could give to a poor orphan? Say again, sorry.
Do you have a candle, Bartleby?
I do, but I don't think you can eat it.
I can't eat a candle.
I wouldn't try it.
No. I could probably sell it. Unless you want to skip the middle person and just give me the coinage straight away.
I'm afraid I don't have any coins on me, but I'd be more than happy to share a candle with you. It's a candle of Amriel. And her light. Here's a candle. I pass it to her.
She doesn't reach out. She says, "Are you but ugly underneath there? Is that why you wear that thing?"
No. My hands are
my dad once said my mum was butt ugly. Or did he say she looked like a butt? Yeah, one or the other.
Hengist, was I ugly?
No, you got into a bar fight, I believe.
Oh, you're a bit of a tough guy then.
No, I don't think anybody's ever said I'm a tough guy.
Could you beat my dad?
No.
My dad's a blacksmith.
Yep, he could definitely.
Did you want to fight with him? I could go and get him.
No, I learned my lesson, apparently, according to Hengist over here.
What did the other guy look like? If it was a guy you were fighting.
He had tusks.
Tusks?
Yeah.
Wow. You are a good fighter. I think my dad would love to fight with you.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not in the fighting business at all. Well, not for a long time, but we're looking for the map maker, and if you don't want this candle, I'm going to put it back in my pocket, little girl.
You can keep your candle, but if you want to fight with my dad will fight you.
I'm sure he will.
He cracks nuts with his muscle. He puts it there and he presses and it goes pop.
Can you do that, Hengist? Hazra?
No, my strength lies in my agility.
You talk funny, mister.
That's because my little cherub girl. I am not from around here. I am Hazra. I'm a nomad from the steppes.
From the where?
From the steppes, the northern plains of Odis. If you go many, many, many leagues.
Like the steps to our upstairs?
Similar, but further away.
So I didn't hear you, Gulliver.
Like a staircase.
Like a staircase? Our staircase is a bit wobbly.
Yes, my staircase is such is grassy and beautiful.
Do you not want me to tell me dad then that you want to fight with him? She looks back at you.
Perhaps you should go and... how far away is he?
Only round the corner.
Oh.
Didn't you want a spear of sorts? Is your father a good blacksmith?
Is he good? Yes. How good is your father as a blacksmith?
He's the best. My dad's the best at everything.
I tell you what, Lily, if you take me to your father and if he can make me a spear, I may have a coin in it for you.
Right, you'll have to pay for it, you know.
Oh, yes, I know. I'm aware of this. But you show me where your father is and we'll leave these gentlemen here about the business.
Yeah, well, follow me, she says. And she heads down the street. And as you walk off with her, Hazra, she turns around to you and says, "Is he really very ugly underneath there?"
Yes, he's like a cow's backside.
Yeah. I knew a leper once like him. He was just walking along and all of a sudden his skin would go poof into his drink. It was awful.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like-
flakes everywhere. Gulliver, you're still stood outside.
Yeah. He's going to say, stand in front of me, Hengist, so that I can open the door without people seeing.
Try to create a wonderful distraction.
Hengist will just stand there doing a Superman pose. Hengist will stand in the way so that if anybody looks, they just see their figure of Hengist.
And Gulliver's going to take the key out and see whether or not he can get it in the lock. And
Yeah, the door opens easily.
Okay. He's going to take the key out as he opens the door, and he's going to go through and then usher the other two in.
Okay then, so you're all inside. Are you closing the door
He'll
after you?
close the door, and then he'll put the key in, and he'll lock it from the other
Okay.
side. Once he's in there, he'll turn around and go, Fustilius, are you open?
There's no reply.
Should we not have a lookout outside for when Hazard returns?
I think Hazard's going to be. It's going to be a fair while, because doesn't he have to do a holiday bleeding? Isn't his spear crafted with his own blood or something?
Oh, I hope he was just exaggerating.
I don't think he was. Can we see any doors going off from the?
There seems to be the counter, then there seems to be some kind of back room. When you go and have a look at it, it seems to be some kind of sleeping area. There seems to be only one story to the ground floor, and that's it. Seems to be some kind of sleeping area and cooking area behind the shop. Apart from that, it's almost like completely deserted. You figure there's nobody's been there. Some bread that is mouldy on the side. You know, there's a couple of apples that don't look. They're not completely decomposing, but they've obviously been there untouched for a while.
Gulliver's going to go into the main thing where the main workbench is. You know, where he does his work, and he's going to look to see whether or not there's anything. You know, when people write down what they've got to do in the day, or
Like a to-do list.
yeah, well, yes, but more of, you know, who he's
Okay,
doing
then.
work
Yeah.
for.
What would Bartleby and Hengist like to do at this point?
Very quiet.
Bartleby is gonna search for any parchment that might fit the description that Sylvester wants, but secretly being afraid that there might be spirits here.
Okay then. And what about Hengist?
Hengist is. I'm just thinking he can't read. He will be looking to see. Are there sort of like maps hung up on the wall, or the maps that are part drawn, or anything like that? He wants to look to see if he recognises.
Why don't you keep a watch at the door, Hengist, just in case Fustilius does come back or somebody else comes looking for him. It's locked, but you never know. There's some unsavoury people about.
Okay, so Hengist is keeping guard at the door. Bartleby and Gulliver, you need to roll me perception checks for me.
Am I able to take minutes?
Yes, that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not too afraid of them ghosts.
Ooh, okay then. So Bartleby, what will you look? Oh, yeah, there seems to be several bundles of parchment that seem to have some kind of silk ribbon tied round them. You assume that these are for exporting purposes or to be given to somebody else. There seems to be quite a few, 4 or 5 bundles of it. One of these is probably used for Sylvester. Gulliver, what were you looking for, sorry?
Almost like a schedule of work to do.
Oh,
list.
Yes, yeah, got yeah, yes, I remember.
I'm
yeah,
looking for stuff like what he was working on, and maybe what he was, if he had to deliver something, where he might have had to deliver it to, if you see what I mean.
Okay, so people are watching the stream, that little star next to the rolls, that's like denotes that it's a critical roll. So a critical value is 10% of the skill rounded up. So Gulliver's perception must be 61, I'm presuming. So 7 is actually a critical roll for him. So this allows them to have a critical success, which means generally I have to give them a little bit more information or something more important.
Like the 100 gold pieces.
About information that he sees. And you sort of like, you don't find a to-do list at all. But you do notice that when you're behind the counter and you sort of like moving around and looking in shelves, etc., that you notice that there's a certain area behind there that on the floor it creaks a lot. And you become very interested with this creaking floor because nothing else actually creaks. And you then notice that there seems to be a hole in the floorboard. It's about this in size. Okay, quite easy to get 2 fingers in. And it's as you sort of like continue to explore it, you definitely think it's some kind of a trapdoor.
Can I see the sort of like the edges of it, so that I can? I want to try to open it. Definitely want to try to open it. But before he does that, he'll say, "It looks like there's Bartleby, Hengist. It looks like there's some type of trapdoor behind the counter. Look, you can hear it as I stand on it, and it goes."
Yeah. And you can, now that Gulliver's pointed it out to you, you can see it. Hazra, you meet the street urchin girl's father, who looks about the same height as Hengist, but somewhat broader. He has a very sort of like inverted triangle look about him, and you do really believe that he could probably crack nuts in his biceps and probably between his pecs as well.
But could he beat Bartleby? That's the question.
You think easily. So he's quite happy to make you a new spear, if that's what you want. Yep. Forging the blade and then getting it attached will probably take between 1 and 5 days to do it. He's got the materials, so he's quite happy to start crafting it as soon as possible.
Yeah. What I'd like to say is that if he can get it done as quick as he can, but as strong as he can, I'd pay more.
Okay, so
also, I need to give him a bit of my blood as well too. When he's folding the metal of the head, if he can pour it over.
He looks very strangely at you, and sort of like he looks and says,
"It's something that we tried to do up in the northern steppes of this."
He says, "I'm sorry, I'm not touching your blood."
No, you don't have to. You just need to give me a cup of something to put it in, so you can.
No. Is this some strange mumbo jumbo stuff?
No. It's putting my spirit into the.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I don't do spirits here. I don't do spirits. Sorry, mister.
Not even for double the cost.
No. And he looks at his little girl and says, "Who the fuck you brought me here? Some bloody weirdo." Yeah, well, he sort of like goes, he sort of like seems to reach around, and he sort of like brings out what seems to be some kind of bird's foot, and he goes, right, well, goodbye. I will see you later.
Okay, my friend, I'm very sorry to trouble you.
No, not all my fault, mister. Please don't turn me into anything unfortunate.
No, I would try not to.
And the little girl says, he seemed perfectly fine, Dad. Stupid child. He's a bloody mumbo-jumbo guy. We'll probably all grow tails through the night now, stupid. And
that doesn't happen for at least a year.
He sort of like clips her around the ear. He goes, ow, Dad! Bring me something better next time, not some mumbo-jumbo shamanic guy. Good grief. And he goes over, you hear him ringing out. Yes, Gulliver, the trapdoor opens upwards into the room, and you notice that there seems to be like a rope ladder made out of sort of like rungs of wood, and it's about probably about the height, about maybe about 10 foot down, roughly. And you can see that down below. You can see the bottom of the room. It seems to be some kind of room underneath, maybe a cellar or something like that. It doesn't look very big at all, but you can hear almost like the dripping of water. And when you look, yeah, because I'll go for it.
He wants to sort of like look around to see whether or not he can find see a lantern or anything.
Yeah, there's in the bedroom. There's one of those bronze candle holder,
right?
That has a flint next to it. Is obviously what he lights when he is about to go to bed or something like that.
Okay, so he'll go and get that, and he'll say, "Can you light this, Bartleby?"
I can, but I think we should wait for Hazard to return before we go into a dark cellar.
But it only looks like it's a small room, and it's probably a root cellar. He probably keeps his food down there, or maybe some of his more valuable things like the parchment for.
Perhaps that's where he makes the parchment.
Or perhaps there's a giant spider down there that ate him. And I'd feel better if we had Hazard there for giant spiders
and then it
lunching out.
The door rather than going out and looking for other things.
Maybe Hengist can go down first and check it out, Bartleby.
Maybe.
Hengist just shrugs and he's going to walk down this. Is it ladders or stair?
Yeah,
it's a rope ladder.
It's a rope ladder. You can keep your shield on your left arm. You have to sheathe your sword, and it looks quite sturdy as you go down. Make it. Is it athletics in this game, or rather than
athletics? Yeah,
is the standard skill.
Acrobatics, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well done.
Only just.
Yeah. You sort of like get down, you drop off the sort of like the last few rungs, and you land in what appears to be ankle deep water. And you look round, and there's some light coming from up above, as Bartleby says, lights the candle. And it seems to be a small square room that seems to be probably once was something like Gulliver said, that some kind of storage area, but you do notice that there's a small like tunnel going off. Yeah, you could probably get, if you get some more light down here and get closer to it, you'll probably be able to get more information. Apart from that, the water that you're standing in, that's up to your ankles, is quite still and stagnant. It doesn't seem to be running anywhere, but you do notice that there's water dripping and congregating.
How far down is it? Was it just like another room down, or is it more than sort of like a?
No, you just stepped off the ladder into the water. Yeah.
No, but I mean, so like from the ceiling to the floor that I'm standing in, is it like a normal room height?
Yes, yeah, it's normal.
Type, or is it longer than that? Okay. So Hengist will call up and say, "I need more light, but there seems to be a tunnel down here."
Which way does it go?
It goes along the shops. So imagine that the front of the shop is sort of like behind me. You've gone down, and the tunnel goes that way along.
So it goes east.
Yes, sort of like underneath all the shops.
Seems to follow east along the shop fronts.
So towards the river rather than the docks.
Yes.
I believe so, Oliver. Yes.
Perhaps we should wait for Hazra to return before.
Yeah, Hazra probably returns after trying to get a weaponsmith to
rattling the door. Oh no, they've gone. They've left me.
He's tried to pour his blood into metal, and you just hear a hello, are you in there? It is me.
Hello.
It is me, Hazra.
I have come to buy some maps, some of your finest
And
maps.
Bartleby, you hear him, and you take the key off Gulliver and let him in, and then lock the door again. Is the plan to go down the?
Yeah. So Gulliver's going to take his torch out, and then he's going to get down, and then once he gets down, if he'll get somebody to pass him the candle down, and he'll light the torch from the candle.
Yeah.
Hazra will take his lance knife, and he'd be.
So we'll assume that you've got adequate lighting, and you start to make your way down this stagnant water filled. It's ankle deep, the water, and you sort of like start heading down, and it's after a while. Just
are they? Is it sort of like? Is it stone, or is it just sort of
yeah?
like?
No, it looks like it was purpose built for something, and you actually go along, and eventually you come to a door, and it's quite a stout wooden door. It looks like it's oaken, and it has what appears to be like iron shodding across it. And you can, as you get close, you can actually make a perception roll for me. You can all do it.
Could I use a point of luck to reroll?
Yes, by all means.
Pow. That's worse.
That's worse, yeah.
What did I get?
Hang on, we've all failed, haven't we?
I'll use a point of luck to reverse mine.
Yeah, okay then. So when you get to this door, Gulliver sort of like orders everybody to shut up. And you listen at the door, and you can hear muttering. It's definitely muttering. And you can't make out the actual words, but it's almost like something like it's definitely not. There's only one voice, and you can hear the person milling around in the room beyond.
Gulliver, when he hears that, he's going to turn around to the others, and he's just going to sort of like put his finger up to his lips, and then he's going to listen again to see, trying to see whether or not he can actually hear what's being said.
Yeah, it just sounds like muttering.
Is there like a latch on the door, or?
Yeah, there's a latch to open.
Are we still in water?
Yeah, but there seems to be a step up into the room. So it's almost like this corridor is below the level of the door, as if you step up onto it to enter the room. So you don't think there's water in the room that you would be going into.
Okay, so he's going to turn around and he's going to look at the other.
Hengist will be nodding. He's just like,
All right, he's just going to turn around. He's going to open the door, and as he does, he's going to step through and step to the right.
Yeah, so you open the door and you come into what could probably be described as a small cubicle. It's not very big at all, and it seems to be stacked all over the place with books, tomes of books and books and books and books. And you sort of like open the door and step in, and Hengist is now in the doorway, and you're to the right, and you can see the back of somebody who seems to be reading a book, then going off somewhere else and flicking through something else, then coming back. And he seems to be oblivious to your you have entered the room. He doesn't even seem as if he's heard the door open.
Hengist will say, "Hello there, friend."
Yeah, and as soon as you say something, he's sort of like, the book that he was reading is almost like tossed in the air in a complete surprise, and he sort of like turns round and sees you in the doorway, sort of like in your armor or your shield, and Gulliver, and he sort of like goes, huh? And he sort of like stumbles backwards. He's a bit like Radagast the Brown, if that makes sense, you know, from from the Hobbit. Say again, sorry?
Radagast the Brown.
The one, the wizard that they meet in The Hobbit. He has this sleigh with
The one that eats a lot of mushrooms.
So Sylvester McCoy played him.
Yeah. He rides a sleigh.
Sled full of rabbits.
Yes, I know who you mean. Yes.
Yeah, and he sort of like sees you and goes, he drops the book, and he sort of like tries to stagger back away from you, and he trips, he walks into a pile of books or a stool or something, and he just completely falls over backwards, and there's sort of like books going everywhere, and he sort of like says, don't hurt me, please don't hurt me.
Gulliver's going to say, "Oh no, we're not here to hurt you. Sylvester sent us to check up on you. He was concerned about his parchment."
And he sort of like looks at you all, and he seems to look at Hengist, and then he sort of like looks back at you, Gulliver, and sort of like says, "Sylvester sent you?"
Yeah, he even gave us the key to come in. That's why you probably didn't hear us, because you're
not working for those other people, are you?
No, Sylvester, you rent the shop from him.
Wow.
He says you're a map maker, but not as good as he is. And
I'm not really a map maker. He says, I'm more of a, how can I put this? I'm more of a historian.
Oh, Bartleby's a historian as well. He knows lots of history.
And he sort of like looks again at you,
Don't
Hengist, and says,
Get out the way, Hengist.
Bartleby?
No, not me. Bartleby's behind me somewhere, and then Hengist will take a couple of steps into the room and so like step off to the opposite side, to the left.
I'll enter then.
Do you know that your shop's closed?
Well, yes, I've been hiding out down here after those men came round.
Which men?
So it looks at you both as you both talk. He said, those weird men.
They didn't happen to be wearing dark cloaks, did they?
He sort of like looks at you, Hengist, and says, have we met before?
I don't think so.
You look very familiar.
He has a sister.
No. Who's your father?
It's
Do I know him?
not unless you've been from into a different land. I come
All right.
from across
Sorry.
the sea. My name's
What did you
my
two
father's
want?
name is
What were we
Albert.
talking about? What were we talking about?
You were saying that you were hiding from some men.
Oh, yeah. 2 men came in. Weird men. Threatened me.
Strange accents did they have?
Yes.
And angular features.
It was very strange. They came in asking for directions. And luckily, I said no. And they said, we'll make you. And then luckily somebody came in and said, we'll be back. So that was it. I was down my cubbyhole like anything, I tell you.
It's a bit strange that they threatened you over directions.
I think they were looking for something very strange.
Well, what?
Gulliver and Bartleby and Hengist, can you make insight rolls for me, please?
Sorry, my thing's
Not doing well today.
Coopity boom.
Yeah, you think he's telling the truth, Gulliver, but you notice that when he's talking to you,
Does he keep looking in a direction?
he does, at Hengist. And he's sort of like talking to you, and, and then sort of like clicks back at you. And in the pauses, he sort of like keeps looking and he keeps saying, "Are you sure I don't know you?"
Well, my father's name is Ableton, but I come from a land across the sea, so...
Very strange. You look so familiar. Well, thank you for the parchment. You can take the parchment. It is upstairs. There's 3 bundles for Sylvester, but please do not tell him that I'm lurking down here.
Oh no, of course. What should we tell him? That you've gone gathering map information?
Well, good idea. That sounds like a good story to weave.
You could maybe leave you could maybe write something down, and we could have said we found it on your work desk, something like, "To whom it may concern, gone to make a map."
Ah. Yes. I think I remember. He goes over and you're sort of like thinking, what on earth is he doing? And he sort of like seems to be taking books off, and from you it does seem to be random books, and he keeps looking at one and flicking through the page, then putting it down and go to another one, flicking through another page, etc., and then he sort of like he turns around to you and says, "Did you want something apart from the parchment?"
Yes. We need your help finding a location, sir.
Oh.
A walled-in town near the Blackvale Mountains on the Eel River.
He looks really shocked. Are you sure you're not working with them or for them?
I think we're working against them.
They're bad people. If we were working with them, we would have just come in and threatened you, or we would have just gone straight back out, and we would have told them where you were and said, "Look, he's down here in the basement hiding from you," and then they would have come back anyway.
Oh, good point, young lad. Obviously you are the brains of this party. And he reaches round and he sort of like picks up a couple of books, and the first one he sort of like gives to Gulliver and Bartleby, and it tends to be, it's a tome, and it sort of like says the Black Vale Mountains and surrounded areas, and he says the information you are looking for is in there. And you sort of like flick through, and it seems to be a whole load of maps and directions of the surrounded area. And you notice that there is a map that is very similar to the mosaic, and it sort of like gives a date that down below, which is approximately like 100 years ago. And he said, oh, that's changed a lot now. Ever since that, and he sort of like points to the steamy volcano on the map. If you remember, the map had a mountain with smoke coming out of it. He says, ever since that erupted and gorged forth fire and ash, I doubt whether or not anything up there still exists. And he sort of like leaves you with the books, and he goes off and he takes another one off the shelf, and he flicks through, and he finds a page, and he holds it up to you and looks down again and looks up at Hengist and says, I knew it, and comes on and puts the book down in front of you so you can see it. And there's like an ink style stenciled pictogram drawn in obviously by hand, and on it there's a warrior in full plate mail, holding a sword aloft and having a shield on his other hand, and he seems to be stood on top of a mountain, and there's a bright light shining down on him, and underneath it says Earl of Bronze, Golden Devil. And you look at it, and it seems to have some similarities with Hengist's face. And if anything, they're either extremely related, or the picture in the book is actually of Hengist. And that will be a perfect time to finish for tonight, people, I think. So we will leave it there to get you to have a think before next time. So next time, hopefully you'll be able to discover how you get to Black Veil Mountains. Some recent volcanic activity up there, so what you will find will be unknown. Gulliver, you might be successful enough to go off to your order to see whether or not there's some way to actually get there, and Bartleby, you might also want to visit your beloved next time we do it, since you are in Lindowe. And
oh yeah.
And finally, maybe next week, we'll find out what Hengist's image is doing in a very old tome inside Fustilius Strump's hidey hole. Yeah, so lots to come back for us next week. Does anybody have any announcements to give?
I do not.
Yes, it's my wedding anniversary tomorrow. Yay!
Oh, congratulations!
Oh dear! I mean, yay!
You get shorter for life. I just tell you that.
There's another link in that chain.
Yeah. So, well, I hope you bought a card. Can I just say, Medivac, when they say I don't want to do anything, they're lying.
That is very true.
Learn the hard
I've been old.
Yeah. So, yeah, brilliant. Well, happy wedding anniversary for tomorrow. Anybody else got anything that they would like to say?
No, I think I might be spending time in Hengist's personal library.
Sounds absolutely fantastic.
Family tree.
So, so I will be. If you want to find out any more about the Mythras rule set, then please do go along to my YouTube channel, where there's a series of videos about the overview, combat, skill rolls, and the beginning of magic. So do go along, and if you find it helpful, please subscribe so you can get a regular update when the new ones come out. I will be streaming again tomorrow at 2 o'clock BST time, British Summer Time, when I'll be heading back into the world of tanking and flanking with my Elder Scrolls Online tank. So please do come along and join us then. Until then, I would just like to say to each and every one of you, please remember to be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. Have fun. And I will catch you all later. And until then, happy dice rolling. See you later. Bye.